All hail Emperor Lunatic.
Villains. They come in all shapes and sizes and appear in all mediums. Love them or hate them, they're a necessary evil in the world of entertainment. Now let's talk about Phil Hellmuth.
Nuts.
When you have the nuts, that means you have a hand that can't be beat. Phil loves saying he's got the nuts.
Phil Hellmuth is undoubtedly one of the most well-known names in the world of poker. He's earned millions of dollars throughout his career, but his success has come at a cost. He's earned the nickname the Poker Brat due to his short temper and his tendency to lash out at other players.
Man,
Otherwise, you're gonna go out
can you
like
just
a
shut
little
the up?
This reputation has made him a controversial figure in the world of poker, and has caused many to view him as a villain.
I'll tell you one thing, you look pretty ridiculous to all the poker players out there right now.
I mean, if
And maybe the American public doesn't get it, but to all the top pros, you look pretty ridiculous.
Thanks for checking out the video. Who do you think is the greatest poker villain of all time? Let me know in the comments, and please consider subscribing to the channel. Phil Hellmuth's life as a poker player began long before he became a household name in the poker world. He was born on July 16, 1964, in Madison, Wisconsin. He was the oldest of 5 children and grew up in a middle-class family. He attended the University of Wisconsin-Madison, but dropped out before completing his degree to pursue a career in poker. He began playing poker at a young age and quickly developed a talent for the game. He played in local tournaments and eventually worked his way up to larger events. In 1989, he made his first appearance at the World Series of Poker and won the main event after beating poker legend Johnny Chan, becoming the youngest player ever to win the tournament at the age of 24. It would take 19 years for his record to be beaten by Peter Eastgate in 2008.
And this is the moment. 22-year-old Peter Eastgate steps into poker history.
Hellmuth's reputation as a villain in the poker world did not emerge until much later in his career. In the early 2000s, the poker boom brought many new players to the game, and Hellmuth became a household name thanks to his numerous WSOP victories and his appearances on televised poker events. And as Hellmuth's fame grew, so did his ego. He became known for being arrogant and difficult to deal with, both on and off the table. He would often berate other players for their mistakes and show a lack of respect for his opponents.
I'm asking the question.
You want to complain about me? Mother.
See that?
Won't shut the
While some may argue that Hellmuth's behavior is simply a result of his competitive nature and desire to win, many think his actions have gone beyond acceptable behavior for a professional poker player.
Can you please shut up?
The bike's coming.
He's having fun.
I mean, come on, man. You just want to rub salt in my wound every time? Show some class.
Most of his outbursts have been directed at other players who have really done nothing wrong, and his behavior has caused unnecessary tension and conflict at the poker table. One of the most famous examples of Hellmuth's bad behavior occurred during the 2008 World Series of Poker. Hellmuth folded ace-king offsuit to Christian Dragomir's bet on a flop of 9-10-7. When the table asked Dragomir to show his hand, Dragomir showed he called Hellmuth's pre-flop re-raise with 10-4 suited, a much weaker hand and one most would have expected to have been folded with a re-raise. Hellmuth began to berate Dragomir.
This is how I lose my money to some idiot.
He was eventually issued a warning by the floor person for continued berating of another player.
This is the state of poker. The guy is the worst player in history, and they're cheering. You are an idiot.
4 times.
Did you see what this idiot just did?
5.
Even mouthy players like Mike the Mouth Matiso, a good friend of Hellmuth's, told him to chill.
That's sick.
I don't care, you're way out of line.
His behavior was so extreme that he was penalized by the tournament officials, but after a private meeting with the WSOP commissioner, the penalty was overruled.
Hey, it's poker. It's poker. To you, it's poker, man. To me, this is my life.
Here's another example. In the first week of Poker After Dark on NBC, Hellmuth asked fellow pros, including Gus Hansen and Huck Seed, to stop talking while it was his turn to act on his hand after Annie Duke raised him. They initially complied, but when Hellmuth began to talk, he was mocked by Seed, who said,
"Be quiet so I can talk."
Hellmuth threatened never to play on the show again and walked off the set.
You know what? I might not play in another one if it's going to be like this, all right? You understand?
After the show's producers intervened, Hellmuth returned and was eliminated just a few hands later.
That's
the gin card.
That was kind of a
Nice
gin
name,
card.
That's definitely.
Phil Hellmuth has been eliminated with that card. The river doesn't matter.
Annie Duke would later describe Hellmuth's behavior as one of the biggest overreactions I have ever seen. Even at the 2021 WSOP 7-Card Stud Championship, Hellmuth went on a 15-minute tirade, going so far as to threaten to burn the entire casino down. After losing an important pot to Anthony Zeno,
with a diamond draw and an ace. There's like one ace left. How does he get awarded for that play?
Hellmuth went max tilt, dropping F-bomb after F-bomb until he committed a cardinal poker sin, mucking his next hand by tossing the cards off the table. He got up to try and calm himself down, but when he eventually sat down again, he said, "I think I'm gonna burn this place down if I don't win this tournament." The whole ordeal blew up on poker Twitter, with most people agreeing that this is over-the-top behavior that should be penalized.
And you really got voted the most hated man in poker. It's hard to believe. Did you deserve it?
Hellmuth's behavior has also had a negative impact on the image of the game of poker as a whole. His outbursts have been televised and widely publicized, giving the impression that poker is a game filled with disrespectful degenerates and unsportsmanlike behavior. This can deter new players from entering the game and may turn off viewers who are not interested in watching players argue and insult each other. And the thing is, this behavior is not solely limited to the poker table. In his personal life, he's been known to display a level of arrogance and entitlement that has rubbed many people the wrong way. His attitude towards others has been described as narcissistic, and he's been accused of making decisions that are solely in his best interest. Of course, poker has always seen its fair share of villains who have made a name for themselves by cheating, by stealing, and by manipulating their way to victory. One of the most infamous villains in the history of poker is Stu Ungar, also known as the Kid. Despite being one of the most naturally talented players to ever pick up a deck of cards, Ungar was known for his reckless behavior and love of drugs, which ultimately led to his downfall. Despite winning 3 World Series of Poker main event titles, Ungar was also known for his erratic behavior at the tables, frequently berating his opponents and making wild bets that often backfired. Perhaps the most notorious villain in the history of poker is Russ Hamilton, a former World Series of Poker champion who was later found to have been involved in a massive cheating scandal that rocked the industry. Hamilton, along with several other players and executives, was accused of stealing millions of dollars from other players by manipulating software used by the site Ultimate Bet. Although Hamilton denied any wrongdoing for years, he eventually admitted to his role in the scheme and agreed to repay a portion of the stolen funds. But let's get back to Hellmuth. In the end, despite his behavior, he's achieved remarkable success in the world of poker. He's won 16 WSOP bracelets, he's ranked 20th on the all-time money list, and he holds the records for the most WSOP cashes and most WSOP final tables. As of January 2023, his live tournament winnings exceeded a staggering $28 million. However, all of this has come at a cost. His nickname, the Poker Brat, is a testament to how he's viewed and how he's perceived. In the end, his legacy will be defined not only by his success on the felt, but by his behavior towards his fellow players. And while some may view him as a villain, others may see him as a passionate competitor who's simply trying to stay on top. And that's all I have for this one. If you've made it this far, I truly appreciate it. Check out some of our other videos if you like the content, and thanks for watching Poker Boom.